I was at this like event R.U.Sirius was doing with his music, and I think the song's called "R.U. Against NFTs," which is cool. And then so like he had like a little like talk, and then like there's like question and answers, and then there was like the VR experience, and like it was kind of funny because I was telling him within the vacuum, like there's all these rooms, which was cool, but like the main room that was like showcasing his song and like the interactive like virtual world, like the song wasn't playing correctly or whatever. But other than that, like it was kind of cool. Like there was like this one area where, but it's like I think it's like How to Operate Your Mind, Timothy Leary, and there's like a song video for that. It's like a 90s thing, but like that was kind of cool because like you go into like the video in the sense like the video's like wrapped around you. Like they were using the spear. Anyways, I was telling him too because Minds Gaming uses hubs, which is what they were using for the virtual experience with RU.
Yeah.
So
it kind of be like Google Maps Street View if you could move around and shit.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Because I played with it. I think you guys seen like the visual where I put one of my mandalas and it's like a spear. And then, like, you could go into, like, the image, and it's just, like, the image is just wrapped around your view. But, like, they did that with the video, which was kind of cool. You know, potentially we could do... Damn, I wonder, like, how crazy we would get with this. like, I would want, like, a room, right? So you go into, like, this room that's kind of, like... Maybe it's just like a spear because like, but it's kind of hard to navigate that one. Like, I was getting a little frustrated because like, you get lost. I got lost in the sphere. Like, I couldn't find the exit. Like,
you
get trapped.
Yeah, you get trapped.
It's a
like,
trap. It's a trap.
Yeah, I got stuck in there. It's like being in those bouncy castles when they deflate, and you're like, oh shit, where's the exit at? And you go into like the net, and you're like, no, this is not the exit. And you go into like different places. But I would like the song. Oh, maybe that's how we do it. Okay, so we have the first Concepcion song, right? And then maybe we have like 3 options where you could put the Mayan chanting over, and then maybe we have the older version, or and then we have a newer version. And so like you could have the same song
make it like a
and then make it a different experience, like as you combine stuff. And that's it.
Jolly Lama was mentioning some reactive, I don't remember specific what specific program was, but something about a video editing that reacts with sound.
Oh yeah. He
mentioned it on the chat.
Yeah, he does Blender, and he's getting really good at Blender, and but he's been using one of the like plugins that makes the image like react to the sound. So like in his video, which I sampled in one of the dreaming one, and then I even put the clip at the end because the singing goes along with like the light and like how the like main image is moving. So it kind of looks like a puppet, like because like every time it's like kind of like singing or saying something, it's like a string is like pulling it. It's kind of interesting. And like the same thing too is I have an effect program that you could set it to noise or to the music, and it does different adjusting according to.
Oh, nice.
Well, can I suggest something?
Let's try that.
Yeah.
Aspirational.
All of it.
Yeah, for sure.
When we were talking about the VR interface and it being like a Google Maps Street View, I was wondering, like, what if the topology of the map, which you could, if that came along in the metaphor, like if that was the inside of a torus, which is kind of like that experiment they did recently. The animation showed like a rat running along on the inside of a flowing torus, and it's these findings actually in the brain, the torus attractors. It's how we actually map space. And I was just thinking, like, if that's how we experience the world, our environment, spatially, then there's like this opposite side of the torus that is lesser known to us, but then by degrees, as you move in closer, we're more aware of it. Yeah, I like Tauruses. the
Yeah.
the
Oh,
picture,
there's
Diana.
this program. Anyways, and I haven't dug into it that much, but there's like this whole like I forgot exactly what like set of
The name.
files that
Yeah.
allow you to like access like these data sets or whatever. But anyways, and they do all these like simulations of like advanced geometry and or organic like simulations of organic like growth or whatever. Like I use like and I talked to actually within the vacuum about this stuff before, but I shared a link. I think it's in Decoding the Weird, where I think it's called Tungus. I forgot whatever it's called, but anyways, it has the torus, and it's exactly like that, where you go into it, and then like if you go in the middle, it like loops back on itself. It's pretty cool, like just exploring the thing. But if I understand it right, you like okay, so say we want to like embed that same simulation into say Mind's gaming site, right? And so like we embed it there, but like from there I'm thinking like how do we manipulate it to where we put like our visuals in it?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I want
think
to put like a mandala in there, and then like we have these like loopy things of like the Dreamtime tiles. You know what I mean?
More realistically speaking,
Uh-huh.
you could also visualize a sphere by the same set of methods that I would, recommend for mapping it as a sphere. It's like they're both the same thing. It's as I'm thinking of it right now, like questions are kind of central as the basic semantic act of everything. And it's that thing that Arthur Young talks about in part 4 of that with the Popol Vuh. I may be interested in doing a mandala of that, but it's basically this narrowing down of the dimensions until it's like light becomes subatomic particles, which becomes particles, atoms, molecules. And then molecules is this turning point, and from then on, it's sort of self-organizing to plant, vegetable, mineral. It's like this hourglass, and that's the torus, which in like active inference terms, you could call it a Markov channel. That's a question, just as we would normally think of it. But that question just being the compression of this wave that's continuous, right? There is also the possibility to measure it from bottleneck to bottleneck, and that we could call an inquiry or a Markov balloon. So it's like an iteration of it, but it's just a matter if we want to sort of map the bulge. That's your spherical version you could use for the VR, or the other was just hypothetical. The torus.
Is like the most effective way of fulfill the field.
Yeah.
Like it's the idea of the toroidal structure is about simplicity. So what gets interesting is when you use that principle to create very complex things. And that's the beauty. That's what we see in nature. That's what we see in this reality, right? Everything is a toroid. It's like toroids everywhere. We're like immersed in little, bigger, tiny, middle toros, like everywhere. So it's just the way it is built. It's very, very
nature repeats.
convinced. Look at us. I'm convincing.
Like emotions, there are many instances of emotion. There are many instances of our species in every species, inside, etc.
It reminds me about the holographic theory also. Maybe we're just projections from other places. And yeah, that's great. Like that's like the starting point, to realize and start to rediscover the world and get amazed again about the simplest thing, like piece of bread or whatever, like makes you feel, wow, man, this is great. Friends and
earlier today I was watching Party Down, and in the newest episode is they do shrooms at their job, right? And then they did actually a pretty good job of like I would say of like the shroom logic of the show. Like, okay, so what I liked about it too is like they didn't do like these cartoonish like visuals, but it was like, okay, so it shows everybody, and then they slowly like start to like get like really silly, and then they get worried about this one person who's doing shrooms for the first time, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go like watch them and make sure they're okay, and then she comes back and she's telling the story about how she lost the guy, and she's like, and I saw this bush, and like it was really a good bush. And he's like, and then the guy that was on shrooms, he's like, yeah, oh yeah, well, yeah. Like, it made total sense to him. Like, of course, you had to stop and like commune with the bush. It's literally, she was like, yeah, the bush was really cool. It was so funny. And,
yeah.
I think some people do kind of theorize that Moses was on mushrooms, though. Like, yeah. I remember that. That was the first insight quote I ever thought of. Like, a tree stump in a parking lot. It was unimitatable. It was utterly unique in the pattern of everything. Focused there to be itself. And it's the only one like it. It's just that fairness, like the tetragrammaton. I am what I am. I actually used that in my 20s. I wrote an essay on it. I don't know if you read that, Satori. I should post it, I guess. Yeah. I'm gonna talk about it. But the Baku, like, potentially I could see that being like another powerful mythic entity, because I've kind of worked with that before a little bit, so it's challenging though. And I was thinking too about like the mandalas you've been putting out with the space in them, or I guess other people could sign on or become the wave. But in listening to the Emerald episode with Tyson Yunkaporta on it, one of the best interviews I've heard with him, the second one on pattern mind, kinship, so forth, he just kept talking about stories, and Dr. Michael Trell asked him, like, what's the difference between a QAnon shaman today hallucinating his way inside the Capitol. Yeah, and then the real thing, like just the indigenous, every person just living, seeing it pattern everywhere. And Tyson Young Kapoor just said, like, well, basically, there's good story and there's bad story, and like in the Western culture, we love to run
Actually,
against the evil, and then we have something to unite against.
actually, the concept behind the vacuum, from my personal perspective, and to be within the vacuum, is to allow yourself to build again the world. Like, it's in a way allow yourself to die and rebuild your world again. And that's why you choose the most intelligent way to do it, which is nature, and following the pattern that nature is showing you of how to flow with what you are, in the vacuum. Actually, I remember one friend once told me about this place where it was like completely muted place, and he felt like he could feel his blood and internal organs and everything, because it was like so muted that and like the vacuum allowed us to listen to ourselves, to observe ourselves, and from there start to rebuild the world in a way, right?
When do you think is the best time to remember to meditate? Because I forget to meditate and then I get hung up on beginning to meditate. Should I meditate when the sun rises? I should find.
I don't know.
I
Yeah.
should find
I don't
whatever.
even
I
know.
think what's important in for what I keep on getting more towards for my own self is like develop my own like rhythms. So like for me, like I guess like the morning, like I meditate, but like my meditation is like not formal at all. You know what I mean? Like it's like my own like
Yeah,
fucking brew of
it,
becoming present and focusing on what I want to focus on, and then like or even working on what I want to work on. Like later, like I told you guys before, like in my early 20s, I went like really I'll use my own like language, like hardcore on like the dreaming stuff and like getting like really into like the practice and like meditating and reading and all this kind of stuff. And then I went like in my own like words or something. I went like too far into like all of that, and then like to where I am now is like I still have like all of those like skill sets, but for me it's more of like letting the organic like rhythms arise without like trying so hard. And like for me now it's like okay, I'll just to be open, and when I'm ready for the message of like some crazy dream, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen when it's gonna happen. Not like before. I guess in my 20s, I was like searching for that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And like and I always find like the it happening in my own sense organic as the more meaningful and stranger ones, like the ones that happen like a bolt from the blue, like uh, I was
yeah,
also
yeah.
thinking in the more broader sense when you were talking about the narrative, right? So RU in his talk was saying about like he used broadly getting 1 billion people on the internet, and like he did a lot of work in like brand, for lack of a better word, branding like cyber culture and like creating it
Uh huh.
like like from like scratch, where it was like not like he said when he changed the magazine to reality hackers in like the late 80s. He said like no one knew what a hacker was, so like the subscriptions went down from what was it high. I forgot what the first iteration of the magazine was, and then it became like Mondo 2000. But he said like the reality hackers like went down because no one knew what a hacker was. So anyways, he says once like everybody became online, he said like there was like a social singularity, and he was explaining the social singularity is like, he said like even what he was thinking early on was like what he wanted to do with Mondo was to break consensus reality. I remember one time when RU was on Team Human, and he said, I'd even make a clip of this too, but he goes something about like, Operation Mindfuck was too successful.
Yeah.
and then I just started laughing when I heard that. And then in his talk too, he was talking about how like even like fucking modern like Russian disinformation like campaigns, like internet ones, like study like stuff that Robert Downtown Wilson like did, you know. But anyways, and so he was talking about like breaking the consensus reality, and I think the last time with Kevin, and I think you were there within the vacuum, I was talking about the similar thing, was like everything is so like decentralized and fragmented, and like that's a good thing, even though like it feels like weird and bad or whatever. But like no one has like a grip on like the main narrative. There is like everybody considers themselves like they're also talking about like evangelicals considering themselves like counterculture, and like everybody like using the same like tools. For me, I'm like everybody's using the same marketing.
It's an iteration of ourselves, you know, like humanity.
And like that's like the thing too, because like RU was saying something about like, you know, Google in the beginning before they got like all of the VC funds, like, you know, the thing was like don't be evil, but he says like that doesn't scale up. Like once you scale up, you're evil. And then that was funny because like that was like the same argument that I was kind of like pointing to in tech when I was like, what about if like we look at this and like what you guys are saying about branding and like scaling up, like what if we find out like it can't help but be evil? Like that's the evil thing. And like in that sense too, like early on I did this poem called Death of the Narrative, and it's going to like what you were saying. Like for me it was like this ritual for my own creative practice to like destroy my own narratives, in the sense to find like what I was talking about earlier is like the organic threads that are like out there.
An earthquake is happening here right now. Yeah.
And you know, earlier too in Decoding the Weird, I saw this thing and I put the video.
Sorry. I get scared. I'm a little scared.
No.
I interrupted you.
No.
Yeah.
It was so that.
Yeah, it stops.
Oh man.
It was. Yeah, it stops.
That's interesting, because like I was just taking it like metaphorically. I thought you. I didn't know you had an actual.
No, it actually happened.
I was like, oh, that's even crazier.
Oh man, this is strong. Strong weed.
Yeah. Okay. Going to what I was saying about the Decoding the Weird, there's these clips that I put there about overlapping waveforms, and so they had they had the harmonic one, and you could see it, and then there was one that wasn't harmonic, right? And there's like a bunch of noise, and then like that's where we're in like the non-harmonic one where there's like a bunch of noise, and like because like, you know, also too what I've been like listening to and thinking about is Ralph Abraham and what he talks about. Like he coins it as miracles, but like in these bifurcations, And then he even makes the statement too, like miracles. He uses it not in the normal sense of like, because people when they say miracles, they think there has to be like a positive connotation to it. But he just simply says miracles that things that like happen outside of like the model, like what you can't predict. And like
yeah.
And R.U.Sirius was talking a little bit about this too, because he mentions this quote by Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan said something about like, I embrace the weird, but I'm not sure if I embrace the chaos, but I don't know if chaos embraces me. And then R.U. was like, as I get older, like he thinks about that too.
Yeah, that makes little sense.
Yeah,
right there.
And like that's the thing is like, I think this is circling all back around, John, to the first ancestor codex of the Aztecs, right? And like in it is the so they're taking the precious bones and they're distilling it to like create their first people, right? And then Quetzalcoatl like stumbles and like breaks the special bones, and so like that's like the comedy and tragedy of like humanity. We're broken bones of and I think that's like this trickster lesson too. You know, like the Taoist lesson is there's always harmony, but you never really know. Like once you think you know, it's like, oh, you lost it. You know, like that fable of like this young man, he like breaks his leg, and everybody in the town is like, oh my god, like we feel bad for you, your son broke his leg. And he's like, and the guy's like, oh, we'll see. And the next day the army comes and they don't take his son because he broke his leg. And then everybody in the town's like, oh, you're lucky because your son broke his leg. And the guy's like, oh, we'll see. And then like the next day, like the military comes there and like kills his son or something like that. But you know, like you never really know what's gonna happen.
It's good.
So yeah, I was thinking about that, and we're definitely like in this accelerated state of like, I think maybe it's because we're trying to predict everything, is why like there's like we're focusing like on the wrong side of like the perception. Because I remember a couple of times I got like these like weird like existential panics, like thinking about like this like kind of stuff, like, you know, the edges of like blockchain and like all this like financial weird bullshit. And I remember one time like this phrase is like freezing time, and then I'm like, they're trying to freeze hyperspace, and then I went to like the natural conclusion. I was like, don't do it. Like, you're not supposed to do that. Like, I got like this like really, really weird panic. Like, do not try to entrap the dream time. I think that's what happened. Like, you can't do that. Like,
that's
don't do it.
That's like something Douglas Hofstadter writes in I'm Strange Loop, that when he was a kid at the video store, it's like he always wanted to try and loop the camera and the VCR so it would show itself, and the salesman would always freak out a little bit and stop him from doing that, as if there's something about that infinity that would, well, he kind of makes it into something more mystical, but from the salesperson point of view, you know, dollars and cents. Don't blow up on me now.
Yeah. You know, when we were playing around more with like Baku, right? And we're talking about like perception, reality tunnels, how we interact with like actual like reality is this torus like tunnel. And it like gets like created like every second by our brains constructed, you know, tile by tile, whether we realize it or not, right? And like Baku is like this like kind of like weird thing, like keeping the seams together.
Actually the mechanism is that doubling of the, you know, in order to have this anticipation of the future. Otherwise we couldn't be able to stabilize like to stabilize reality.
Yeah, atomizing the like shadow, you know. creating a construction. You know, and there was this other, and I never heard the term, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, but so there was someone who did a AI picture, generated picture of William Gibson. Anyways, he's a science fiction writer, right? And he's like, my something would, like, oh, that's a pretty good one, but my something wouldn't recognize it. And I had to look up that term, and for the life of me, I'm not going to remember it. But the term is that you create these imaginative entities. Like, that's what the term meant. So, like, and then, huh?
Egregore?
I think so, maybe. Anyways,
yeah,
like, and I was thinking, because he's a writer too, but like it meant like you create a character that has like a life of his own, you know, like it's a thing like out in the world. Like it starts off in your head, right? But now it's its own narrative, living narrative, and brand and whatever, you know.
Picture, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of like funny and interesting that like that's how he responded to that AI generated art of him. So, oh yeah, that's
I was thinking how cool could be to you know how Kemper technology works. Kemper is this profiling system that creates a map from amplifiers, microphones, pedals, everything, and keep it as digital information. So you can use literally those amplifiers with different microphones and different combinations. So I was thinking about how cool could be to use that kind of technology to map a whale and to be able to create this experience when you are a whale and you travel through the world being a whale, like digitally. That could be nice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's like a interesting too, because like how they navigate, like echolocation and stuff like that is interesting.
Amazing. Yeah, I love whales.
How would you like animate the whale? Like, would it take an input from you, or just a linear sonic experience, or do you sort of have whale agency? That makes sense.
Yeah, it would be cool to have whale agency. But like that's what I think you're saying. So you get like the actual like raw real data from like the best data we could get from like an actual like living whale, right?
Like,
you create that concert, and then like I guess you're able to orchestrate like the moves, right? And then there would be like an environment where you could like, I guess, swim around and do stuff.
It's an organism.
Yeah.
You map the entire organism with the it has to be the electromagnetic spectrum of it to know exactly what everything is. Names doesn't matter. It's just like density of frequency legs. I don't know how deep it gets,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's superficial, but with amplifiers it works like, it's amazing. You have like these amplifiers that doesn't exist anymore from the 50s.
Yeah. I was thinking of a different way too, is like exploring sound like a whale would. Like you're in a room that's just like totally blank, right? Like fucking nothing. But all it is like the intensity of the frequency of the sound. That's what. What is that instrument where you play on top of it and then what is it? Fucking who was talking about that? Someone was talking about it that I was listening to.
An instrument that you play on top of it?
Yeah, it's like a xylophone, but like it's like you mess around with the static or something. Like you have like this bow, and then like it like creates the feedback, and you go.
Yeah.
And you fuck around with it, but you don't like touch anything, but you like hover around it.
Yeah, just with the electromagnetic spectrum.
The sensitivity of the
it's connected to this sound.
the static.
Nice, yeah.
But I was like something like that. That would be kind of like cool.
Yeah. Do you guys see this floatarium thing I sent into the group?
Oh, in the group chat.
I was thinking, that would be amazing. Like some waterproof headset, so you get into the whatever this capsule calls,
Visual snow
and you
is
float and listen to the first track, Concepcion, something like that. That might be some really immersive experience.
Have you ever thought about?
I will call them
loops, like a loop of conception, so you could sort of stay as long as you felt like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Kind of briny, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always
could be
kind of
intense. Could be really intense. Also, well, it depends on the mix, but it puts you.
Yeah, I might want to set it time.
Yeah, but sure, the eternal conception track, that definitely makes sense.
There was one thing too that I read once that I think it's like something that I think I'm trying to do that we're already doing in a sense. But I read this I think it was like one of the essays in Naropa's Disembodied Poetics. Like they have like a publication like at the end of the year, a yearly publication from the school. But anyways, one of the essays, what was the original topic? But anyways, he was talking about like William S. Burroughs and Yahya letters and him. But then he mentions this story about like this, I think it was like this missionary. He goes down to South America and then he gets like kidnapped by like this tribe. And they keep him there for like years, and he becomes part of the tribe. But he writes a book later, right? And the tribe, what's kind of interesting about this tribe, they use ayahuasca, and they use ayahuasca like as this way to like help them for the hunt. And like before they go on the hunt, like they do this like group ayahuasca ritual. And he says that like in that ritual, they like everything in there is like focused on like what they're gonna do like for the next weekend when they go hunting. And so like every symbol, everything is like connected to that experience. And like everybody in the tribe, because they share the same kind of like narrative threads, they know what all these like like a fucking cosmic serpent coming from like interstellar space is like. They're no longer like wowed by that, but they know what that means, and they're okay. Well, we need to pay attention to this. We need to do that. And it's like hardcore information that they're gonna use like tomorrow to do what they do, and they share like this group mind when they're like hunting as well, and the group mind is in the ayahuasca as well. But like the only way you get there is you have this like fabric of a narrative that is like shared over time, like within the tribe and stuff like that. And then so like this is like the weird part too, where what I was thinking about, like, yeah, it's true, like what Aryu was saying about the social singularity, getting 1 billion people on the internet and blowing up consensus reality is like, you know, everybody has their own narratives and like they're like blunt forcing, like attacking everybody with it. And I think like so, in my own way of narratively making sense in my mind of like why I like to like do certain things I like to do and why I'm more attracted to these certain ideas. I think like the narrative mandala, like in this like grand narrative sense, is like this compass to like navigate the like noise storm of narratives that is like propagating everywhere. Maybe it's like a Faraday cage for all of this. Like you get it and like you put it, and then it like creates like this like space. I think they need one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I've sort of been, I would say, thinking about the same thing, but like almost from a perspective of semantic justice or like informational symmetry or informational equity, because words and symbols have such biases. I was thinking about this earlier, like the human face is proof that we live through symbols. Like it's the seed of our conceptual self-identification. If somebody's face got burned off, they'd still have an identity. It's just they wouldn't have that candy seed. But people accept things all the time that just inherently equal because our
even when you were saying that, there was like a phrase, right? People take everything on face value. Like even face value is like that term that you could use like that, like backs up or whatever that thread you're talking about. Yeah.
But then our meme of faces has been shaped by just using it in that sense for words, because words certainly have a very face-like quality, I guess. Shallow, that's the word I'm looking for. I'm rambling. Shit.
That's what I think I mean too about like branding, because it's just like on the surface, and like there's a lot of like there's another talk that I was listening to, and I think it's true too, like because my own like growing up like in the time and space that I grew up, and then like how I formed my own like identity, like I could relate to what this one guy was talking about. He was like, oh, I'm a little older and I find it like I forgot what he said, like kind of like in ill taste to like promote myself. But like younger people don't feel that way. They don't have that like hang up. Like they're always like branding, like they're always like plugging, and like that doesn't seem weird to them. Where like my ethos is a little bit older and like punk, and like, oh, you know, like if you're like I find it like cheesy if someone does that, you know what I mean?
That's also part of the fragmentation.
Yeah.
You know, like my little brother is 20 something, and his friends and all of, you know, like his girlfriend and everyone is like self-promoting in a way, but they are, you know, like they just trying to do art and share meaningful things with others. You know, isn't that, well, some of them, other ones is just a narcissistic thing. but yeah, there's everything happening. all kinds. It's really funny.
Sounds evasive.
But yeah, I feel like I can't, you know, I can't even, I really can't even, I think I don't allow myself to channeling that kind of information, you know, strategy, marketing, all of that is like so lame.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
well, I don't know. It's like, man, it's cool. The ideas behind it are cool, but the aim, which is like, it's competition and take
Well,
pieces of the
yeah,
market, and
and
like all that is
that's
stressful thing.
yeah.
Really, really adult thing. Like being competitive and maintain secrets and all of that. It's crazy out there.
Well, it's kind of the Protestant thing, though, like being very competitive where you're compelled, but also being super self-effacing. Because if you catch yourself being prideful, then you have to admit that you've been working hard to try and earn your way into heaven, which is
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah,
no-no. So,
John, this reminds me what you mentioned earlier, and I think I have maybe something to it, like when you where where is the best moment to meditate, right? So
yeah,
at the beginning you will need some discipline, and discipline is like, whatever you need, like put an alarm, a
Yeah.
remind a reminder in your phone, whatever you need to remind to do it. And when you get yourself together to do it and acquire the discipline to do it, then it will get easier to get into that frequency. So yeah, at the beginning it is little bad. Another thing is that this that you're mentioning right now about the way that we humans learn about our from our experience had to change. Like people doesn't need to suffer that much anymore. I think we are getting the tools to be able to at least make it easier for them,
yeah.
right? Because
Though,
newer generations have these other sensibility that the system has actually, right? Like the the capability to be sensitive to very specific things about everyone.
which kind of gives you the sense of timing, kairos, as opposed to chronos. Yeah, man. Thanks. Great. Beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good
But
place to end stuff. Unless
Yeah.
anybody had anything else to bring up. Were you gonna say something, John?
oh, final connection, I guess,
Yeah.
to what you two were saying earlier about like taking time to properly enter the flow, and then you sort of wait for that the indicator from the universe, but that that can be frustrating over time, and want you can get anxious, which I suppose points back to the meditation angle. So yeah, that's I've been making categories and task cards, been revising my schedule. It's actually very simple now, believe it or not. But
It's
I'll
very
shut up.
easy, John. You will find that you will get addictive to it. That
Yeah.
simple.
Well,
You'll get addictive.
that's what I was kind of like pointing to with the dreaming. Like I got like too into it. I got like too.
Yeah.
I needed to like stop. Like I got too rigid. Like.
Yeah, it's a way of life.
But
Definitely.
it's also too what to just to back up what within the vacuum. Like it's like some kind of like mental muscle memory kind of thing.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah. It's an exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the clinging is unnecessary.
Yeah,
So,
totally. All right. Well, guys,
Okay.
thanks for showing up,
all right.
and it was fun. Until
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
yeah,
Bye.
bye.
Every time we do this, it reminds me why I do things that we do.
Yeah, and
Cool. Cool.
even this is becoming like what I wanted to become is like one like a long practice for us to like come together. You know, like I think that's like the thing is like we have to be all right with, and I think it is easier, but like without having it's so scaled up, right? It's so like this thing that we're chasing or whatever that we develop our own individual natural rhythms and also to this one that connects in these small ways to the tribe in a sense. And like that, because I remember there was this argument or like this discussion kind of in Team Human. I got kind of I found it interesting because like one was like, oh, if you don't agree with this, like just don't talk about this or whatever, because he wanted to talk about it, and it was about like Chat GPT and about like creativity and inspiration, and you know that's like the thing too, the branding, like they should just like call them large language models and not AI. But anyways, because like there's
Have you?
all this like miscommunication that happens around it because like it doesn't replace or it can't like replace or it's not on the same level as like this, like just having people to bounce and feedback loop like your ideas and like you know be like, oh, I've been thinking this, or oh, what have you been thinking about, like that is like generates like so much more, you know. And I
Yeah.
think
Interconnections.
building this like you know these new like social loop feedback loops
Mhm.
and is important, you know, creating
Yeah.
these mandala narratives that create these like narrative fairy cages.
Have you seen the latest South Park episode about GPT chat?
Oh no, what was that one?
That's really funny.
Dude.
Yeah, they use it to talk to their girlfriends because they don't want to do it. So
Yeah.
they
Chat
delegate
GPT,
every
what's the best
message.
thing to
Yeah,
dude, I just
they know they just copy paste their girlfriend's message to it, so
oh
they don't even need to know what they're talking about.
yeah.
It's crazy,
Dude, there
really
was this
fast.
article on Vice and it said, "Oh, I let Chat GPT control my life for 72 hours or whatever." I was like, "Oh God,
Amazing.
yeah,
It's
I heard
amazing.
someone say on a podcast that all the buzz at South by Southwest was for AI and like none of it for crypto.
yeah." Like last year it was NFTs, and this year it's AI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's the sensitivity thing I'm talking about. You know, like the interaction with the
dude.
internet it totally changed with
Yeah,
it.
it's so
It's
crazy how
amazing.
like something like a brand or like a thing could like it's so
Yeah.
vaporware where it's like 1 minute it didn't exist, the next minute it's like ubiquitous, and the next minute it's gone.
You can...
Ah!
exactly.
What? Like no one's talking about it. That just happened 5 months ago. Like that's not a thing anymore. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
it's so weird.
It's so fast. It's about quantum computing also. You know, like quantum computing can defeat or break into the cryptography of blockchains.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a threat out there, you know, like in a way for that. But I was talking with the chat about it, you know, like collecting data. And yeah, it's interesting because quantum computing is actually that, you know, like when it gets out of out of the event horizon, we lose control, and what the response can be whatever, right? But it's not the same with reality. You know, we have to trust. We're not qubits.
All right, guys.
Okay, have a good night. Later.
Good
Okay,
night.
bye, guys.
Bye.